So, if you've got pens and papers, I would urge you to take note. I am so blessed. And it's the reason why I do what I do. In the sense that when you find your purpose, anyone heard of the law of attraction? Okay, well, this story proves it's real. I'm fortunate enough to be friends with one of the people that starred in that movie, Reverend Michael Beckwith. And literally, when you find your purpose, literally, rather than you chasing things, things come to you. So I went on this program, invested my money, because it's good to invest in yourself. I'm like, let me check this guy out. And guess what happened? The very morning that the program was going to start, because you know, I have a ritual, and part of that is training. So I'm like, I'm in the hotel, let me go and do my little workout. It's going to start at 8 o'clock. The gym tells me that they're open at 6, so there I was, 6 o'clock, going to do my workout. I'm in the gym. As I'm walking, I hear this voice. I'm like, I recognize that voice. I turn around. Well, I've been watching this guy's video for the last week, because if I was going to pay that kind of money, you better be good. And lo and behold, literally, the man I was coming to see was right there. So I had just an amazing situation, because we then started training together. That's the power of the law of attraction. And from there, I'm so pleased. We had a conversation, and I spent 40 hours with this man. We had a conversation thereafter, and in a heartbeat, this man decided that he's not going to go to his trip. He's going to come and share with you this evening. So for those of you who are serious about success, and those of you who are thinking about business, then you want to pay attention. Please, I give you none other than, but before I do that, got your attention. I want to show you the power of this man's influence. This young lady, please, can you come? So I met her on this program. My whole peer group changed completely as a result of 3 days. I've met some amazing people from all over the world. And this lady, we only spent a couple of hours together. And today... Yeah, but they were quality, man. They were quality. They were quality.
We shared lots of good ideas.
Didn't we? And where have you travelled from today to be with us?
Leeds.
Please. And she's just come, dropped her bag and said, Tony, I'm here to help. That is the power of what this man that you're going to hear from has been able to do. It was pretty awesome, wasn't it?
It was fabulous. And by opening up to the universe, it's amazing what comes through your door. Be very careful what you ask for. It might not be what you think. So be very genuine in what you want. Speak from your heart, just like Tony does, and like Peter, and the universe is there.
Wow, please, round of applause for this lovely lady who comes down. And we're going to do some stuff together. So now, I give you the man himself, Mr. Peter Sage. A round of applause.
Thank you, Tony. And wow, thank you, everybody. I'm always very humbled when it comes to being able to stand up in front of a group of people, many of which never knew I existed this morning. And yeah, it's just the power, as Tony said, of being able to put yourself in the right frequency to allow the right situations to present themselves. And too many people are struggling in life trying to carve their way out of a channel. And what I really want to share with you tonight over the next sort of 20 minutes that we've got to journey together is some of the insights around the bigger questions that a lot of the time we leave and lock in the cupboard, occasionally look at and then close the door again. A little bit about why are we here? Who are we? What are some of the bigger reasons why you've been guided to be here tonight? Is there a bigger plan, or is this entire deal a big Brownian motion of happenstance and circumstance that we just happen to be here together tonight with? And I think by the end of this evening, most of us already know the answer to that question. So, when I had the privilege of doing one of my events in London a few weeks ago, it's an event I love to teach. I don't get a chance to do it very often. It's a 3-day business school. It's 40 hours of content over 3 days. And as I say, it's quite a marathon. And this guy, Tony, who I kind of bumped into in the gym that morning, And we were training, seemed a really good guy. And I remember when I got on stage again, there's 300 people in this event, there's hundreds on live stream that are dialing in, it's quite a production. And this guy kept jumping up. And he kept sort of, but his energy and his enthusiasm, his contribution, but there was a recurring theme, at least for the first day and a half. And that recurring theme was, I want to know if you're real. I came here, I paid my money, I came all the way down because I want to check you out. Yeah? And part of the energy behind that was because a lot of people that I find in this industry tend to come from a place that is very different to where Tony comes from. And what I recognized in Tony immediately was his authenticity, his willingness to want to contribute, his willingness to care about people more than they care about themselves until they care about themselves. And I think that's been evident tonight by everybody who stood up here that's gone through the GPS. And it's very rare you find somebody like that. So when Tony asked me to come and speak this evening, and yes, I cancelled the trip. I've actually pushed it off till tomorrow. I'm speaking in Geneva, and I'm like, right, I don't care. Well, let's make it happen. Let's cancel flights. Let's move something around. If you're happy enough, well, no, it's about you guys. If he has as much faith and trust in me to want to come down and share some valuable time with you guys, then the least I can do is make that happen. So, what do we really want to talk about tonight? Well, part of it has to do with, again, the reason you're here. And part of that is inherently and intrinsically linked to a journey that you're on. A journey that you've been asking yourselves about where to go. And part of that has its roots in education, does it not? A lot of you are here to learn something about yourselves, to learn something different to what we were originally taught or promised through the traditional educational routes. Now, I'm not here to slag off traditional education. I got out of school at 16. I've got no formal qualifications. I went and got a PhD in results. That seems to do a little bit better for me. But the challenge is that the model of education right now, in its current form, and I don't think this is a surprise to anybody, is fundamentally broken. Now, it's fundamentally broken in relationship to living in the 21st century. It's not fundamentally broken to what it was designed for. In fact, it's perfectly tailored to what it was designed for, but many people never question what the current educational model was designed for. And so if we go back into the Industrial Revolution, we take a little look. Especially in this country, we had a feudal system prior to that. Most people working out in the fields or working in villages, whether it was sort of basic trades. When the Industrial Revolution came along, it shifted everything, and all of a sudden now we had a population that needed to be educated on how to use machines so that they didn't hurt themselves or other people, so that the machine of business could move forward. And there were certain organising principles behind that the traditional education system was built on. The first was compliance. You go to school because you need to be taught that you need to be told what to do, and you need to follow orders. And you need to show up on time, and you need to not question authority, and you need to sit there and accept everything that's being taught to you, and you'll be validated in that level of intelligence by how much you can remember at the end of the year. And that's, for that particular part of our life, in human evolution, served its purpose. But we live in a very, very different world today, do we not? And that education model, unfortunately, is not preparing people for 21st century reality. In fact, we have more people now that are coming out of university qualified to be a barrister that can't get a job as a barista. Do we not? And look around the world, what kind of revolution does that cause? Well, look at the Arab Spring. I lived in the Middle East for many years. And at the time when Tunisia first kicked off, which then led into Egypt and Cairo, which then led into Libya, which kicked over into still going on in Syria. And all of that happened for one reason. Anybody remember what the tipping point was for that? There was one student in Tunisia that set fire to themselves in protest to the government because they'd followed that educational dream of let's go invest time, invest the money, spend 4 years, go to further education, get a certificate signed by somebody I've never met to validate my intelligence. And guess what? I can't get a job. I got laden with student debt. And what happened to the dream? Now, as a result of that, what had happened, the government had invested in education, the traditional model, but not actually invested in entrepreneurship. So when people were coming out of university, there was very little jobs for them to actually go to, and they'd been conditioned under the previous model to be compliant, uncreative, and to follow orders to apply what it is that they'd learned, rather than come up and start asking better questions, which would lead them down a different path, i.e., what is it that I could do to add value? What is my gift? If I could only spend my life doing one thing, what would it be? And questions like that start to shift our mindset away from, oh, I need to go get an education, get a certificate, get a job, because then I'll be happy. No. See, then you'll be trapped into a comfort zone. And unfortunately, so many people go through life trained through that left brain educational model to kill creativity and stay inside a comfort zone. See, the left brain is very useful. It can figure things out. It uses logic and reasoning and metaphor and language and deduction. But that's why it's stretched to the limit in traditional education, and it's built like a muscle going into the gym. If you're only training arms and they get powerful, whenever you walk into a gym, you want to lift weights with the arms. But your poor skinny little legs are saying, hey, what about me? So the left brain muscle is built at school. Why? Because it can be measured. You take a math test and score 78%, I know exactly where to put you. But how do you take a test for creativity? How do you score on the scoreboard for imagination? How do you take an exam in loving somebody? Right? That's the domain that exists outside of the left brain. So when we come ready with these big arms and when we see everything, we want to lift weights, and we're using a lack of creativity but an over-application of deduction, is it any wonder why people are walking around unhappy, frustrated, feeling like they're on a hamster wheel to nowhere at a dead end? And so when it comes to education right now, what choices do we have? Well, luckily, we have a lot. We're living in a time in human history now, my friends, that is absolutely unprecedented for two particular areas. One is education, because traditional education may help you make a living, but informal education will help you make a fortune. And people that are willing to invest in themselves outside of the model, once they understand how flawed the model is, not for what it was designed for, it was perfect, but for how it relates to today, can open up the possibility of something called personal growth, personal development, self-education. We don't have to rely on a teacher in a classroom to allow us to become the best version of who we are. And with society and technology right now, that particular avenue is absolutely abundant. The challenge is, where do you go? Because as I said, there's very few people like Tony that can offer the authenticity around having your best interests at heart, rather than just trying to sell you something because they want to sell you something. And the fundamental premise on most of the people in personal development is a lie, and I'll tell you what it is right now. The premise is this: you're broken, but don't worry, because I can fix you. And if you buy my stuff, I can fix you faster. That's kind of the premise on most of this industry is built on, unfortunately. And yeah, there's very little empathy, there's very little understanding, there's very little caring about what your true goals, passions, desires, and dreams are. So if you go out of here tonight, you can go and study some of the best people in the world, some of the best training, all for free. Whether it's YouTube, Wistia, Vimeo, all the different models or platforms. You can go and get world-class education from mentors that have done incredible things that want to share. But choose wisely, because the downside to this industry and this technology, this time in history, is that we are so overwhelmed. Every single second that YouTube is up, between 12 and 15 hours of content is uploaded. Every second. People are drowning in information but starving for wisdom. And unfortunately for many people, they never manage to get out of that trap. So, when it comes to things like the GPS, when it comes to things like what Tony is doing, I'm so privileged to have discovered somebody who is a bit like a kindred spirit, that has that level of total, authentic willingness for you to be a better version of yourself. See, so when it comes to this time in history, I said education is abundant if you want to go seek it. And choose wisely. But also, where does that lead? If there's no real jobs as such for many people these days, unless you have a specific passion to go into a specific industry that that's calling you. But how do most people choose a job these days? How do you choose a job? what's available, what pays well, what's convenient. Is that how to live your life? Okay. And so, come a little closer, I'll be able to see. There you go, but don't tell anybody. Okay, 45 minutes, okay, I've got it. Yeah, just kidding, we'll be out by midnight. Yeah. So, yeah, on that note, how do they choose that? They choose it based on certainty. An addiction to certainty for most people. The challenge is there is no such thing as certainty in life. The only difference is the tree doesn't stand there worrying if it's going to get blown down by a storm tomorrow. It just deals with what is. And that addiction to certainty, conditioned by traditional education, traps us into something called a comfort zone. Now, what is a comfort zone? I'll give you a new word for it. Slow, boring death. That's it. Oh, I'm going to stay here and play small because I feel certain that things can't go wrong. And we try to play the game of life from a different perspective. We play it this way. Oh, if I don't participate, then I can't lose. Some people play the relationship game that way. If I don't participate, I can't lose. But then guess what? We can never win. See, I believe life is meant to be lived at a different level. You see, if you're living in this tiny little bandwidth where I don't want to risk too much, but therefore I don't want to lose too much, that's a boring life, is it not? I'm a great believer. Okay, 30 minutes. I get it. But no, so instead, what we're looking for is to be able to ask yourself a question. What do I want to do with the gift that I've got? Ask your question tonight, ladies and gentlemen. What do I want to do with the gift that I've got? You see, if you're lucky enough to get to the end of your life, as we all will, why? Everything in the physical world is subject to the law of impermanence. You know, we can't get out of that game. But that's okay. If we're lucky enough to get to the end and we were able to ask ourselves, or say or choose our last sentence, what would you want it to be? Your last sentence, last breath. I know what you don't want it to be. I did it my way. Hell yes. Not, oh, I missed EastEnders. Yeah, or, was that it? I wish I'd done fill in the blank. If only, no. It wants to be something like, wow, now that was spectacular. Hell yes.
Sorry, God, I'm late.
Yeah, sorry, God, I'm late. Yeah. But the point being is, the movie that you're starring in, called the movie of your life, most people are starring as a film extra in their own movie. And for you to become a star and be able to move out of your comfort zone, which is what's required, then what has to happen? We have to understand that the purpose of life is not to live in this safe little zone, but to understand the peaks and the troughs are what give it its texture. The movie of your life wants to have everything in it. Nobody pays good money to go to watch James Bond for 90 minutes rescue a kitten out of a tree. You'd want your money back, right? Yeah. Would you see that movie again? Wrong, but thank you for playing. No. You want drama, and you want comedy, and you want romance, and you want tragedy, and you want everything. That's what makes a good movie. You want to walk out of that cinema and go, wow, nothing left. That's how you want to walk out of your life. Wow, nothing left. You see, you can't take it with you. The only people that tried that were the Egyptians. And what happened? 3,000 years later, we dug it up and stole it. Right? No. This is a now experience, my friends. Now I'm happy, now I'm happy, now I'm happy. Not I'm going to meet the right person tomorrow, then I'll be happy. That doesn't work. Oh, when I get my first million, then I'll be happy. No, you won't. You'll need another million in case you get first. That's playing the chase the rabbit game. So, what is it that we want to do as people here to be able to move forward? Well, taking advantage of what is in our midst. Because if you're going to grow as a person, then you have the ability to contribute. But you cannot give that which you don't have. So what are you doing when you look in the mirror to make a better version of you that's going to give more to the world? Why? Because nature operates on only two laws. The law of growth and contribution. Everything in nature grows and contributes, or it's taken out of the food chain. We just think we're different because we come from our fears of egocentrism. Okay, got it. These minutes get longer. And so, in order to be able to grow and contribute, we have to invest in ourselves. In order to invest ourselves, we have to step out of our comfort zone. That may be financially, that may be emotionally, that may be physically. It doesn't matter. Train that muscle and you'll realize that that comfort zone really wasn't a lot to begin with. And if you only knew what it was, guys, you'd only be too keen to jump out of it. It's so inconsistent with the gifts that I see sitting in this room. We've heard some incredible stories tonight. And go find yourself a mentor. Go find yourself a program. Go get involved in something. Now, I've spent the last 20 plus years being able to try to share some of the lessons and the mistakes I've been through and I've made. And I'm just a guy. I'm not any smarter or clever than anybody else in this room. I've just been fortunate enough to have had some mentors in my life that have helped me step outside of those limitations, just as everybody here can as well. There's greatness in here if you want to look in the mirror and accept it. So go find yourself a mentor now. And that's one of the things I love about Tony, because he came to me and he says, listen, I love your message. I love what you do. I've got a program. Is there something we can do together? And I'm like, yes, absolutely. I don't get to teach too often these days because I'm traveling a lot, and the course that we did in London was I only do once, twice a year. But I do have a mentorship program, and Tony says, Pete, is there something we can do there for the people? I said, absolutely. We launch it only, again, twice a year. It's coming out in a few weeks, and I want to do a partnership with Tony where we can actually ask people if they want to be part of that as an ambassador program, rather than just come on board because it's out of reach of some people. I says, well, listen, let's do a deal. If you've got some people that really want to invest in themselves, if really want to get their potential, it's a 6-month program, then why don't we ask them if they want to bring something to the table as ambassadors, someone that can be a mentor with it for another one of the students, somebody that can step up and lead by example, that can hold other people accountable as well as themselves. Does that make sense? And from that place, go contribute. And I'll open that up. Now, I call it the Elite Mentorship Program. If you have any interest in wanting some information on that, that's all I want to share with you tonight, because what I love about it is it'll give you a benchmark of also what else you may want to go and look for. Tonight's not about me. Then go and give some information to a couple of my guys, Josh. Go see this guy and say, listen, I'm interested, send me some details. And we'll see if you guys here, which I think people that have gone through GPS would make incredible mentors to other people. And at the end of the day, is that not what we're doing? Is that not why we're here? And we'll be able to get some information out to you on that, but take a look. But whatever it is, realize that the movie of your life is the only game in town here. Here's how most people live their lives. I'll leave you with this. Most people are afraid because they are subject to something, what I call living in goop. G-O-O-P, the good opinion of other people. Most people spend their life swimming in goop. It's a sticky, nasty mess. How do you get out of goop? Well, if you're all the star in your own movie, are you not? Yeah. And in fact, you pretty much are in every scene, right? Yeah. I hope so. By definition, everybody else is either at best a supporting cast, or 99% of the people that you'll experience and meet in your life will be film extras, will they not? Yeah. So here's the challenge, here's the misperception for most people. Because we walk around in the movie of our life as the star, and we're looking through those lenses, we think that other people are seeing us as the star in our movie. Correct? I reserve the right to answer that, son. Okay. It'll be fun. But no, we think other people are seeing us the star of our movie. But guess what? What movie are they starring in? Their own, which means by definition, at best you may, as a partner, a spouse, or a son, or a daughter, or what have you, be a supporting cast. But vast majority of people that come into your movie, you are nothing but an extra in theirs. And so how's everybody walking around in this goop trap? Oh, I wonder what people are thinking of me. Would you like me to tell you what they're thinking of you? I'll be very, very honest about this. It's a secret. Listen in. This is what they're thinking. I wonder what they're thinking about me. And the reality is this. Like it or not, most people don't care enough about you to bother to give an opinion, because they're too busy being worried about what they think you're thinking of. Thank you. Yeah? Guys. When you come from that place, you get empowered. Yeah? You can either be emotionally dependent or emotionally independent. Here's what emotionally dependent people look like. Oh, I can't believe that person said that, really offended me. Well, guess what? That person had free will, just like you do, to say anything that they want. And they chose to express that free will in whatever way they want. What about emotionally independent people? Wow, that person over there said that. I can choose how I feel. And from that place, we're all empowered. And if we can live our life from that place, we can be a beacon for other people. We can actually start to live the movie we were born to star in. And when we get to the end of this game, ladies and gentlemen, whether we win that Oscar or whether we don't, will be determined upon how many smiles we put on somebody else's face and how much of an example that we were to others to go and follow in those footsteps. And that is a life worth living. Thank you.
Wow. Was that not amazing? Come on, show some love. Was that amazing or not?